Hello, welcome everyone. We are on day 4 of our Coach Skills Blitz. Only a few days left. This is fun. I'm loving this. I'm loving like getting together with you guys every day. It's just fun. It's fun to like review all the basics. And for some of you, you're just learning the basics like for the first time. So that's fun too. I always feel like there's something that I catch, like even when I review something for like the 50th time. Does anyone else feel like that? There's like something that you're like, I have never thought about it that way. It's so true. All right, so let's go over yesterday's assignments. It was to make a post on your Facebook and add the coach calendar. So drop a number 1 in the chat if you're able to add the coach calendar. The coach calendar is now on your calendar. And if you couldn't figure out how to do it yet, that's okay. I was just saying this earlier, but maybe you just have to Google it. Like be like, I have an iPhone, whatever. How do I connect the Google Calendar? You know what I mean? Like if all else fails, ask Google, I always say. Yeah, the coach calendar saves me. Totally agree, Chantel. And or ask your business coach and be like, I'm still trying to figure out how to connect that coach calendar. And sometimes just having someone else on the phone with you like magically makes it work. Has anyone else experienced this? Like when you're talking to tech support, all of a sudden it just works. Anyway, so those are my suggestions if you still haven't figured out how to connect the coach calendar. All right. I have it programmed into my phone. Okay, great. Awesome. So today I have the lovely Crystal Donaldson on with me. Are you there, Crystal?
I'm here. Sorry, my computer decided its audio just didn't want to work. So we're doing this from my phone. So sorry about that.
No problem. Sometimes that's how it is, right? Okay, good. So today we are going to talk about working session 4, doing a health assessment. All right, you guys, this is where the rubber meets the road. Like all the posting we do on Facebook and talking to people and getting the word out, it is all for this. Doing health assessments is where it's at. Wouldn't you agree, Crystal?
Yeah, 100%. And I wanted to share this story before we start a little bit today, because I think we can put so much pressure on ourselves that we have to do this totally perfectly. And if we don't and we mess up, then people aren't going to sign up and all the things. So let me just tell you this funny story. So I did a health assessment and a couple of days ago, and I have a little 4-year-old boy, and I do all the things. I turn on the shows. I get him happy before I start. But this day was just a crazy day. He was on one anyway, and then the iPad that I was connecting, just having all these technical difficulties. So I'm trying to do this health assessment with this lady. He keeps coming in, interrupting me in my office, like, Mom, like screaming, So at one point I go, can you hold on for just a second? Because I'm trying to figure out this show for my son. She goes, oh, that's fine. So I thought I muted my phone. Okay. No, it was good. And I go, why can't I get this freaking thing to work? Like this is me, right? Like talking to my iPad. Why can't I get this freaking thing to work? Oh my gosh. And I look back at my phone as I'm finishing up and I get it to work. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was not on mute the whole time. I wanted to die. And instead of being not awkward and just like laughing it off and being like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you heard all that. I thought I put you on mute. That's so embarrassing. I just pretended it didn't happen. So I made it even more awkward. Okay, so the reason I share this story with you is because I told my husband that night, I was like, so I had this health assessment today that was like a total train wreck. And she was a referral too from a current client. Anyway, she signed up, guys. She ended up signing up. So the reason I share that story is because you don't have to be perfect at this. If people are ready, they're going to be ready. But just know, like, even those of us who are seasoned at this sometimes have our moments too. So I just wanted to share that funny story before we start.
Oh my gosh, Crystal, I love that. It's so true. And I always remind people, I'm like, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. Like they're ready or they're not. But I will say the people who are on the fence, it helps if we have some training, right?
Sure. For sure. And I think if I hadn't done it 100 times and like had it in my brain, I probably would have had a panic attack. But I just picked up where I left off. So it was second nature.
So true.
So do you want to start explaining this part, Amber? Do you want me to jump in?
Yeah, I'll start off. So if you're new, then this part's for you, because what we love to do with new coaches is just on the job training. And so your job is to just find a friend. We went over that in the last session, to do a health assessment. Who's interested right now? Who's asking you? Or who in your life, it would be really great if they knew what you were doing, so they're going to help you out. Okay, so those are kind of the categories of who's going to be doing your first health assessments. And so what you're going to do is you're going to start the health assessment call a certain way. And this is best for your training and for your friend and for your mentor coach. It's best for everybody. So you're going to introduce everybody. You're going to say, hi, Susie, this is my coach, Crystal. She's been coaching for several years. She's really great. And Crystal, this is my friend, Susie. We grew up together. I'm going to mostly be listening in. So I'm going to have Crystal take it from here. And then you go on mute. Okay. Like, remember the mute. Remember Crystal's story? Just kidding. But it really does help if you don't have background noise and things like that for the whole like health assessment to go well. And then the mentor coach is going to come in, and Crystal's going to say, Crystal, oh, so nice to meet you, Susie. You're such a great friend to help Amber out with her training. If it's okay with you, I'm going to treat you as if you're interested. Okay. This is an important part, mentor coaches. If you're like, you're getting a refresh on what to do too here, right? I'm going to treat you as if you're interested in improving your health. Okay. I'm going to ask you about your goals. I'm going to give you info on our program. I'll even invite you to join as part of Amber's training, but there's no pressure to sign up. Is that okay? So we're getting an agreement with this person, especially if they're just helping out. Okay. And if they're coming to the gate like, no, I'm interested, I want to learn about it, you don't necessarily have to do that. Okay. But it's very important to get an agreement, because that new coach that you're training, they need to hear all the parts, even like in the invitation at the end. And we don't want it to be awkward if they're just helping them out. Okay.
Hey, Amber, can I emphasize something really quick?
Yep.
This isn't just something in the beginning. This is something to kind of lean into for your entire business. This idea of having multiple people, because you're going to use it in the future for celebration calls, for journey kickoff calls, for a new coach meet and greet, for a senior coach celebration. And this, in 14 years, this is one of the things that I've seen new coaches resist more than anything. They're like, oh, it's so weird to bring on my mentor and stuff. Have you ever been at a doctor's appointment? This happened to me just a couple of months ago. I was with my daughter at just a routine physical for sports, and our doctor said, oh, I've got this medical student. Is it okay if she sits in on the... Things like this happen all the time. It's actually way more professional to include somebody else like this, especially in health professions. So lean into having a mentor, a teammate, a partner there to help you with your business, especially while you're learning all these integral skills.
Thanks, Jared. So true. Mentorship model. And even if you are a little more seasoned, but maybe you haven't done a health assessment in a little bit, like hop on, like do 1 3-way with your business coach. I remember doing that with Kim Fisk after I'd been coaching for like a month or two. And I was like, I just don't know. I don't feel like I'm like converting people as much. And she hopped on with me, and I had to like put my ego to the side, because you know what she said to me after it? You sound a little salesy, Amber. And I was like, ugh. And so there you go. There you have it. Sometimes you got to just like take the feedback. So, okay, Crystal. We've set up the health assessment. We're getting on. We've gone on mute. I've gone on mute. You're my business coach. Where do we start? And maybe go over like how important it is to go in order.
Yeah, so it's really easy. First of all, I just want to say you have your job form already, right? So you have, previous to this health assessment, you have looked through the job form. You've noticed little things that might come up in the health assessment. Maybe they have some allergies or they're on some medications. You've already kind of logged that in your brain, your mentor. You sent it to your mentor, by the way, so that they can look over it and be ready as well. And now you're ready to jump into it. So now you're going into it with all the tools you need to know about any objections that might come up beforehand, which is so awesome. I love the job form for that reason. And then you're going to jump in, and it's really important that you go in order, because dream weaving is the most important part of the health assessment. This is where you're going to connect with the client. You're going to be able to know what it is that they really want. And you're already thinking about, when they're talking about, you know, how busy they are and things like that in the dream weaving portion, you're thinking about where you're going to connect the 4 components later on. So it's really important that you go in order with this. And you're going to start off with talking about our trilogy, the healthy mind, healthy body, and healthy finances. And the thing I love so much about the health assessment is you can literally just read this word for word. Like, you don't have to come up with your own fancy wording. Please don't do that. Don't waste your time and energy. You can literally just read off of this health assessment word for word. It's set up so beautifully. And the more you practice it, it won't sound scripted. It'll sound like you're just talking.
So true. I love that. And some people sometimes ask me like, well, what if they say that they want to improve on their healthy finances? Like, I don't know what to do with that, right? The funny thing is, if you read these questions, they kind of apply to any area. If you knew you wouldn't fail, what would you want to see happen with your finances? What's your biggest why behind wanting to have healthier finances? You know what I mean? Like it really does work with like any of these areas. And yeah, anyway, so I just wanted to throw that in there, because some people go, I don't know what to do if they want anything other than health, right? But really just getting into like what is underneath what they want to create and seeing if it's a fit, because guys, it's not a fit for every single person. And like, just like take a deep breath in, out. It's okay if it's not a fit for every single person. Like, it's okay. That's part of our job, is just to see if it's a fit to work with each other. Okay. So I totally agree with Crystal. Dream weaving, number 1, and just like go, I pull up the script, like raise your hand if you pull up the script when you do health assessments, like still to this day. Like I do. You guys, like every so often, I don't, just because I'm like, oh shoot, I'm out and about. I'm just going to do it while I'm in the car waiting for my kid at volleyball or something. Every so often I have to do that. And I know the script well enough that it turns out, but I still pull it up when I have one. Yeah, 99% of the time, because it keeps me on track. It keeps me like going through the steps. And that is actually makes me more efficient and effective, so that I'm not on the phone for hours and hours. Okay. All right. So sharing a 60-second story of yourself or someone else you know, this is where you kind of just hear what they're wanting to create, and you think of like, okay, what part of my story would apply to that? Or what part of someone else that I know? This is why it really helps to get on a lot of different like, you know, like Monday night calls or healthy together times in the past, or going to events, because you hear people's stories and you go, you know what? I know Brian Drollinger was a roofer and you're a roofer, and he was able to lose 30 pounds. And you know what I mean? Like, or you go, oh yeah, Curtly, she had a baby and she lost her baby weight and she was doing nursing mother's plan. You know what I mean? Like my friend Curtly, we're all friends here. Okay. So you can just like a quick story of how some story that you know or yourself applies to them and how they can be successful too. See how committed they are. Don't skip this one, you guys. Because if they're like, if you're talking to someone and you're like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how committed are you to your long-term health? And they're like a 2, like chances are they're not going to do very well. And of course, we're going to ask them like, oh, well, what's underneath that? What's holding you back from being more committed? Because it may just be they don't believe in themselves or they think it's too hard. And it may be that we have an answer to that, but don't skip that question. That one's good. Okay, Crystal, what's the next part?
Yeah, so I wanted to touch really quick on the story part and then jump into the 4 components. So I love to share my story when there's something applicable there that we have, but I also like to share my story if it's somebody I've never met. So if it's someone that has just like followed me on Facebook, or it's somebody that's a referral, especially referrals, I'm like, you don't know me. Obviously, you know Julie, but you don't know me. And so I'd love to share with you how I became a coach, why I became a coach. And then that helps me kind of share a little bit about coaching too. So I'll say, you know, I had 5 kids. I lost about 70 pounds on the program. I wanted something to teach me to have long-term habits. And that's why I love this program, because of our education piece, which I'll talk about in a minute. But that's why I decided to start coaching, because it was something I was so passionate about after losing 70 pounds and learning how to keep it off. So I shared my story there because now they know me a little bit more. And then I've also kind of slipped coaching in there a little bit too, which I think is such a good place to do that. And then now we get to jump down to the 4 components. So I love the adding to this here where it says, I'm so excited about your goals. Are you ready to see if what we do is a good fit for you? I like to also ask them, I want to explain what it is that you're committing to, because I want them to understand, like, this is a commitment. You know, this is something, if you say yes to this, these are the 4 things you're committing to here. And so I love the 4 components. Like this part of it, I read word for word. And I'll do these health assessments with my newer coaches and they'll say, oh my gosh, it didn't even sound like you were reading it. It didn't even, because I've done it so many times. Like I would practice this when I was driving in the car. I would practice it when I was getting ready for work or for, you know, the day in the morning, because this is something that you're going to share with people when you run into them at the grocery store or wherever, the park or wherever. So if you know these 4 things by heart, you're not going to go into all the details of the nutrition part when you're at the park with someone, but it's good because it won't sound scripted. So I just absolutely love the way that the wording on all of this is set up.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and go ahead?
I was just going to say, I also read it. Like,
Mhm.
that's why I like to have it up actually, because I like to read it.
Yeah. And if I don't, I go into too much detail and I waste too much time. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been talking for like 10 minutes and I haven't even got any feedback from them. So I love just reading it, because then I notice I stick to the important stuff I need to say and I don't go off on tangents.
Yep. So true. And I love the question at the end too. Like, I'm curious what caught your attention? Like, wow, that could be really helpful for me. Because I like asking questions that are going in a positive direction too. Like, what did they like? That's what that question is asking, or how our program would apply to them. I'm going to ask them what they heard. Not everybody has good listening comprehension. And so they are going to feed back to me whatever they heard that was applicable to them, right? And then at that point, people may or may not bring up objections as well. Like, I'm curious, I want to open it up to you guys. When you did your health assessment, how many of you, like, just raise your hand, how many of you had an objection? Like there was something that you were like, I'm not sure if this is for me. Okay, so I'm seeing some hands. I'm wondering, like, does anybody want to share like what their initial objection was when they first did their health assessment, Curtly?
The fuelings, you should only eat whole foods, hello, and fuelings would not be good for you.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Fuelings. Who else had an objection?
I had an objection that of my coach.
What does that mean?
I couldn't let my mother-in-law be right.
Okay, yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, anyone else had an
I
objection?
had one.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I thought it wasn't sustainable. Like you just had to always buy the food and then never live on real food. And that's not sustainable. But my coach said, this is just a tool to jumpstart you. And we do transition you to the right regular food and give you the knowledge to manage that well.
Okay, concepts about maybe it's not going to work long term. Amy?
Mine was I'm way too forgetful to remember to eat 6 times a day every 2 to 3 hours. Like I didn't even think I could remember to bring my water bottle out the door for the day. So that was mine.
Okay, I love that, Amy. I've seen some in the chat too, like skeptical, what kind of business this is. Yeah, some other people had gained their weight back after doing the program because no one's ever gained their weight back in other programs either, right? Cost, getting my husband on board. Yeah, totally. Okay, so yeah, you're gonna hear objections, you guys. And I always remind myself and others that bringing up objections actually means that their brain is trying to work things out and that it actually shows some interest, in fact, because they're going, wait, this could be a roadblock. Okay, how would I get over that? Or, how would I still be successful even though I see this potential roadblock? So I love objections. If they're just like, okay, well, I just have to think about it and they don't bring anything up, I'm like, oh, maybe they're not that interested. I'm going to try to get to their objections though. And what I find is the first objection they bring up is typically not the actual objection. So my goal is to get to what is it really that is holding them back? That's always my goal. So if they say, well, I don't know, it seems kind of expensive. My husband might not be on board. Well, I'm not going to take that at face value and be like, well, talk to your husband, get back to me. I'm going to ask more questions. And this is going to be found in the objection training too, but I'll give you an example. If someone said, I just need to talk to my husband, I say, you probably know your husband pretty well. What do you think he's going to say? I'm just curious. And they're like, well, he's going to say it's too expensive. Okay. Is your husband usually pretty supportive of you with your goals? Well, yeah, he's a real supportive guy. Okay. So for you, if he was totally on board and you had all the money, is that the only thing holding you back, or is there something else? And they're going to be like, well, I just don't know if it's actually going to work. You know what I mean? They're going to, as soon as you feel like that's the real objection there, then you're going to give them wording of how to talk to their husband. You're going to say, share your why, share what you just shared with me when you were crying 5 minutes ago. That's what you share with him. And maybe you look at your budget and figure out, I already spend this much money on food. That's what you're going to share with him. Look, honey, it's cost neutral. You know what I mean? We need to help them to really process this in their head with you, instead of letting them do that on their own, where people's monkey minds go crazy. And you know what I mean? And anyone else want to add to that?
I just wanted to share too. I think sometimes we have somebody come up with an objection one time, and then going into our next health assessment, we carry that objection with us. And we're like, oh no. Oh, and we prejudge, oh man, I know Julie was just telling me she's struggling about finances a couple weeks ago, and now she wants to do a health assessment. Oh, this is such a waste of my time. She's not even gonna have the money to do it. But I will tell you, I would love to hear from some people too that have had someone that they prejudged, that they thought couldn't afford it, or, wouldn't do the packaged foods or things like that. I'd love to hear how you were surprised when they said yes, because that was me. When my coach told me how much it was, I had done some other program, I'm not going to say a name, that was $600 a month. And I got no support. I got an occasional text message. It was magic pills and shakes, and I was eating 600 calories a day. And so when they told me the cost, I was I literally said, that's it. Because I had just spent $600 on garbage. So when they told me the price, I was like, oh my gosh, someone's finally going to teach me how to take care of myself. I'm getting I can stop meal prepping. Hella freaking Leah. Right. And we were not rich. I'll just say, like, we were not rich, but it was worth the investment to me. So sometimes we can put these preconceived notions in our head, whether it's from a past health assessment or we're prejudging, but a lot of times we put those out there into the health assessment, and it never really would have been a concern in the first place. So does anyone have any stories like that too, that they'd be willing to share? Somebody maybe they prejudged and then they were shocked later when they signed up.
I do.
Go ahead, Annie.
I just like in December, I did a health assessment on a gentleman, and I was just like, there's no way he's going to do this. And he's like, yeah, I'll just wait till the beginning of the new year. A week later, he goes, let's do it. I was like, okay. And guess what? His celebration call was Tuesday, and he's down 12.5 pounds. And it's awesome. And he's like, the best part is losing the weight. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy. Like, I just was blown away when he decided to do it, because he was so like dry on the phone and so hard to read. And he did it, and he's doing really great. So you just never know.
That's awesome, Annie. I love what Heidi put in the chat too. I made my husband do a health assessment so he could see why and what I wanted. Yeah, like to get the full picture, right? Instead of just like giving a tiny bit of information that makes no sense.
Hey, Amber. I mean, as people have been posting in the chat and stuff, I was thinking back 14 years, and I had about 50 objections, right? And just thinking about those things, one of the things that a group of our leaders, we just challenged them to go back and reread cover to cover The Habits of Health. And if they hadn't already, or to reread, right? And one of the things that Amber and I pointed out to this group was the level of certainty that Dr. A has in The Habits of Health. And I was recalling back 14 years to the level of certainty of Amber's mom. We made fun of her, we objected, we raised all these things, and it did not reduce her level of certainty in the program. Henry Ford, way back in the early 1900s, said that if, like, we want to ask our clients questions about what they want to create. But he said that if I would have asked my customers what they wanted, they would have requested a faster horse. Right? We're not asking them, do you want a faster horse? We're asking them what they want to create, like this bigger vision of their life. And then we're going to prescribe a program that works, right? And I will eat the fuelings until the day I die when I'm 150 years old. And people will be like, oh, why'd you eat those things? Well, I'm older and I can do more than you could when you were like 30, right? So it works. Like, approach it with this level of certainty that they're not trying to make you disbelieve in something, but you're just you're helping them create a belief that you have a tool that can help them create what it is they want in their life.
Yeah, I love that, Jared. To wrap up, we only have a few more minutes here, but we have important things to cover. So the first one is the invitation. Do not skip the invitation. Everyone say it with me. Do not skip the invitation. It is so important. And it's simple. It's so simple that you might not do it. It's so simple you might skip it. But it goes like this. Crystal, I'm loving your goals. You want to lose 70 pounds. You want to have that energy to be a better mom and to get out there and do the things that you want to do and go hiking and swimming. Like, seriously, this program, it can help you get that. If you're ready to go, I'm ready to coach you. Do you have any other questions before we get you started? You guys, easy as that. Like, put it in their court. They may or may not be ready. That's okay. But if you don't offer, if you're just like, well, okay, let me know, and hang up, you are missing you're missing a huge opportunity. Okay, so invitation is huge. I cannot stress that enough. And then after you do your health assessment, follow up. I mean, I could have a whole training on follow up, but you want to send a follow-up email. If they're not ready right then to give you a credit card, that's okay. Send a follow-up email, set a time within 24 to 48 hours where you're going to follow up. Hey, I'm going to follow up with you. Does tomorrow work or is the next day better? Okay, 3 p.m. Great. I will call you then. Set it up before you get off the phone. Send the follow-up email, add them to Healthy Together so they can peruse and see all of our awesome clients doing great and all of our recipes and stuff. And if they're not ready yet, ask for a referral, especially if it's somebody helping you out. And say, you know what, do you know anyone else who might benefit from the program? Can I send you my JotForm health evaluation that you can pass along? Don't be afraid to ask for a referral. What's the worst case scenario? They're not going to give it to anybody. That's the same as if you don't ask. So Crystal, anything else you want to add here before we end?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, this is all of these health assessments that you're doing are just seeds that you're planting. And it's never a no, it's usually just a not yet. And so following up with them is not just, hey, when can I follow up with you to see if you're ready? It's also sending them recipes. It's connecting with them on Facebook and seeing what's going on in their lives and commenting, making sure that they know that you're still there, because when they're ready, they need to know that you're still ready. And if you're not showing up consistently and you're not letting them know that you care for them, whether or not they signed up on program, when they are ready in 3 months or 2 months or a year, they're not going to go to you. They're going to go to somebody else, but they will be ready at some point. They really will be. It's just a matter of when. So just keep in mind, you're just planting seeds. Don't take it personally, but how you follow up is important. So that's it.
So good, Crystal. And there's a question, if you get a referral, how do you contact them without it being awkward? Ask that person to set up a three-way text thread or to send your JotForm. So very simple. Okay, you guys ready for assignment? All right. First assignment is read through the Mastering the Skill of Overcoming Objections. There's a doc and a video. Okay. So that'll be your assignment, is to read through that and listen to the video. It's not very long. And then your second assignment is, I want you to think about, when was the last time you did a health assessment? Okay. If you're a brand new coach, I want you to find somebody, even if they're just helping you out. Okay. Your mom, your best friend, your neighbor, your coworker, somebody who it would be great for them to know what you're doing anyway. Okay. If you're new, if you're a seasoned coach, you haven't done a health assessment in a little while, find yourself a health assessment. Even if you're asking your clients on check-ins, you know what, is there anybody that I could do a health assessment with them that they may or may not be interested, but it'd be great for them to know what you're doing? I would love to do that. So find yourself a health assessment and get that scheduled in the next week. Okay, so those are your 2 assignments. Go over the objections training, find yourself a health assessment, get it on the calendar. Okay, you guys are awesome. Have a fabulous day, and we will see you tomorrow. Same Zoom room, same time. Bye, guys.